Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our top stories today from Politico, yes, the war of words and posturing continues. We have Trump says Illinois Pritzker and Johnson should be in jail. President Donald Trump said Wednesday that Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker should be in jail for failing to protect immigration and custom enforcement officials. The latest escalation between the leaders as the White House pushes ahead of its military deployment in the city. Now, you guys may remember we talked about the rumors of the 82nd Airborne that was captured over Signal. But, of course, that was outlined that there was nothing classified about that. But if you guys haven't checked that out, go to the main channel there, and you can see what we covered when it came to Chicago and the war on Trump. Trump has repeatedly criticized both leaders as weak, decrying the Midwest city as a hotspot of crime despite failing crime rates in Chicago. Yeah, the failing crime rates means that they're not being reported, just like we learned from Washington, D.C., remember? Some of the leadership there from the police departments were saying, yeah, some of these cases that they were involved in, just that they weren't documented. You know, they were changed to something else or misdemeanors or that sort of thing. So, yeah, if you're not reporting the crime, then, of course, it's going to seem lower. Texas National Guard troops arrived in the Chicagoland area Tuesday, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth called up 300 Illinois National Guard troops Saturday to be deployed for at least 60 days despite objections from Pritzker and Johnson. So what happened was, and we'll talk about this here in a moment, is they lost their challenge. And we're going to get into that in a moment, but this was the latest news that came out that I wanted to share with you guys. We're going to talk about something even more important here, because now we have a continuing escalation. You guys already know that things are already escalating. So we have alleged Chicago Latin Kings gang leader charged with putting bounty out for Customs and Border Patrol Chief Bovino. And you guys know Bovino here. I went ahead and looked up a picture for him so you guys remember who Bovino is. And so back to this, and we're going to go ahead and just play the story here from Chicago and see how they're calling it here in Chicago. But before I do that real quick, let me show you the distribution on this story. It's like there's nothing on the left that's being covered. It's 10%. And everything else is either a few on the center. I don't know why they call it MSNBC Center or NBC Center. And then, of course, on the right, because this is very significant information. So let's go ahead and play it from Chicago, ABC 7.
Alleged senior-ranking gang member in Chicago is now accused of putting a bounty out for Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino. Juan Espinoza Martinez is charged with murder for hire. The Department of Homeland Security says an informant sent them an image from Snapchat where Martinez allegedly offered $10,000 for Bovino's murder.
Well, we're starting to see some of those operations and preparations underway, but today there just hasn't been much activity or movement coming in and out of this facility. Now, we have seen some protesters on hand, and then you have the guards at the entrance. But as our ABC 7 team confirmed, we are expecting to see some movement at some point this evening with these National Guard members.
Okay, so they're just going on talking about the National Guard. Of course, as they were saying there, the Latin King gangbanger allegedly put bounty on Border Patrol Chief in Snapchat messages. $10K if you take him, as you can see here. I didn't want to read the whole thing out just in case the various social medias, have an issue with it. I know TikTok, there's no way I would be able to put this on TikTok. But suffice it to say here, and just want to mention here that Tim was saying, because he's from Southside Chicago, is that the Latin Kings operate almost like a mafia. You know, they have code of conducts, they have rules, they have an honor system, and these sorts of things. So this is very kind of unusual for them. Because typically, if you ever watch the documentary-style series on the History Channel on Gangland of all the various gangs, they normally try to avoid police interaction. Now, of course, they'll call what's called a green light and on officers and stuff, very similar to this. But those are usually not the higher-end, top-tier gangs like the Latin Kings. You know, these people aren't dumb. These people run an operation. To them, it's business. And doing bad things like this that brings attention to them is bad business. And so here is the way NBC called it.
With protests over immigration raids escalating in Chicago, tonight federal prosecutors charging an alleged gang member with soliciting the murder of an unnamed senior law enforcement official taking part in immigration enforcement there, saying Juan Espinoza Martinez posted in Snapchat, "10K if you take him down." Authorities tonight also searching for the driver of this black SUV that the Department of Homeland Security says repeatedly rammed into ICE agents in the white truck. While at a separate event, police appearing to be tear-gassed, though not injured, all as President Trump faces new legal battles in his efforts to deploy National Guard troops to 2 more cities.
Donald Trump's deranged depiction of Chicago as a hellhole was just complete BS.
After a federal judge blocked the president from deploying Oregon's National Guard to Portland, where protests against ICE have been escalating. Tonight, Chicago and the state of Illinois suing to try and prevent President Trump's deployment of troops there.
Yeah, and they were unsuccessful, which brings us here. Federal judge declines to immediately block National Guard deployment in Illinois, and that's why you're seeing the Texas Guard there. But the media didn't come out and say it like that because it is a clear loss. Another loss by the Democrats, as we saw even in California. But the Democrats never mention these things. They never mention these challenge. They mention the challenge to do it, but they never mention that they lose them, like we saw here back in June when the major one was done against Donald Trump there to block National Guards in L.A. riots. Remember that? And the judge blocked them from being able to stop Trump. So here again, you see federal judge declines to immediately block National Guard deployment in Illinois. So another loss for them. As you see here, a federal judge in Illinois declined to immediately block the Trump administration from deploying National Guard troops in the state, giving the administration until Wednesday night to respond to the lawsuit filed by Illinois and Chicago. So it's not really that they're trying to present a legal challenge for the purposes of defining and understanding the law as far as like trying to solve a problem, right? What they're doing is they're calling these legal timeouts, these stays for the law to be reviewed, which just means that it's just a delay tactic. It's reviewed, and then the judge declines to proceed with what Illinois is trying to do. So if that makes sense to you guys. So they make these challenges really just as a temporary stop, as a temporary stay. And then 9 times out of 10, Trump wins almost all of these. Sometimes it's a matter of semantics. Sometimes it's a matter of interpretation. But they lose every single time. And as you can see here, from October the 7th, 2025, National Guard deployments, because Trump is already ahead of this. He's already getting ahead of what's going on because he's got the entire weight of the government behind him. He's got experts. He's got legal experts. He's got constitutional experts. He's got experts left, front, side, and every way that help him out. So he knows what's going on. And the Democrats know this. This is why they have to continue to play this game. And I wanted to look up a comment from Mayor Johnson where he said, and I saw this on a clip on the media where he was suggesting that ICE was actually killing people in Chicago. And after I looked this up, because I was trying to figure out what exactly he meant, and he was talking about the incident where the ICE officer was dragged by Silverio Villegas-Gonzalez when he was trying to make an arrest, and he was dragging the officer, and the officer had no other choice but to shoot him. And, of course, then we had something very similar back that we saw here on NBC where the black car was ramming the white ICE vehicle. But now that was not the same incident where a woman was doing the same thing and got into a firefight, or the police officers fired at her, but she was injured but taken to the hospital. So you guys may have heard that as well. But it is quite interesting how this is starting to escalate to a point now where Trump is now saying things like they should both be in jail, and it's a back and forth. But the governor and the mayor cannot fight against the weight of the government. Now, of course, we talked about the alignment of how the federal government can work and operate in these situations, and even declare an insurrection if necessary. So the president has the full weight, as I said, of the administration and government behind him. So these challenges are just another way for the Democrats to really dog whistle to their constituents that they're doing everything they can to defy Trump. They don't care what the legal ramifications are, what the justifications, what the morality, what any of this means. They just want Trump stopped. And that's going to be the constituents and the rioters and the criminals. They just want it to stop. And so these ice-free zones that people keep talking about are really just criminal zones. But I welcome your thoughts and comments down in the comment section on what do you think the escalation is going to be? I mean, how long are we going to be seeing this sort of resistance? And the Democrats just don't seem to learn that they're not winning these challenges and that it's foolish for them to do that. And I covered on a short, if you guys haven't seen it, from CNN's Harry Enton, their chief data analyst, was showing that Trump's favorability has changed very little, like from 44 to 43, like one whole digit, 1 whole % has changed. And so people are still out there supporting the president, but the Democrats are always trying to make it seem as though it's much worse than it really is. But nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for your continued support. That's BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. You guys have been amazing. And, of course, everyone here on YouTube for your guys' continued support. Appearing there on the screen, that's going to be the channel icon. You guys can click on that to subscribe, as well as to select notification. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.